Millennials have the ability to change the future of Mississippi for two reasons: because of their numbers and because of what they believe in. If millennials had voted not at 25%, but at 28%, we would have full funding for every public school in Mississippi.
Ours to Change empowers young people in Mississippi to take ownership of the policies that affect the future of our state. Young people, they want to create change, they just don't know how to go about doing it. And so Ours to Change enables young people to essentially get the change that they want to see in Mississippi.
I believe that change, it starts by embedding it at the youngest stage of comprehension. And so that's like kindergarten, first grade, getting it into them that you can do anything that you set your mind to. You can make any change that you see needs to be made.
The value of an education is that kids would be able to go out into the world and think for themselves and be able to do any of the things that they want to do. I do think it's very important that we put our voices out there and let our legislatures know we care about this, we want to hear you talking about this, and we want to see you voting on this in the ways that we want to see you voting on this.
I was talking to a legislator and he mentioned that college students don't really vote. And I was like, well, that means that we are not on your priority list, or at least not at the top. So I believe once millennials and college students start really voting, then a lot of the legislators will make it their priority to talk to us and engage with us to see what we want and actually represent their whole district instead of the few that vote for them.
It's more than just voting in the presidential elections every 4 years. It's voting local elections, in your city elections, in your county elections, in your statewide elections. These are the laws and the policies that affect your day-to-day life. And if you're not getting out there to vote on them, somebody else is making those decisions for you.
If you were to ask me what's the one thing I think would be the most positive thing to happen in Mississippi, it's people who care become involved.
Young Mississippians have the largest voting population, but historically are the least likely to turn out at the polling booth. Ours to Change knows that if we can engage 5% more of young Mississippians, we can move the needle on big policy issues that reflect the shared values of young Mississippians.
If people are afraid, nothing ever changes. You've got to be bold and you've got to make a change.
They treated each other with high respect, as if they were friends.
Yeah.
Just listening to them talk about the issues of voting, what we can do in the state to encourage more of our millennials to vote. Mm-hmm. It was awesome because they would piggyback off of one another, and even as they piggybacked, they would say, oh, I don't agree with this. However, here's what might work in place of that.
Right.
And so just being able to feed off of one another was just a huge thing for that conversation. It did not seem false. It did not seem rehearsed. It was just something that came naturally, and so I respected both of them for that.
I think it was a bit inspiring a little bit, just so that it gave a good example to the young people that were in the audience, right, of how people should be treating each other, right, when all that we see is not that.
Right.
That's what I really enjoyed about that. I was like, wow, this is
all of our mouths
really
were
HB 957 was an effort to rewrite the formula which says this is how much per student, and then if they have this disability or if they have this, here are certain add-ons, right? The translation of that was ultimately that it was going to be taking more funds away from public schools. How this legislation was dropped was that the legislature meets essentially Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We were actually at the Capitol all day that Thursday, and that 354-page document was dropped after 5 p.m. on Thursday. And then it was to be picked up and discussed and voted on. Well, not discussed really, but voted on. On Tuesday. So if you've got 300 and something pages of like thick stuff, not only can the people who are well versed in reading legislation really go through it and pick it apart, but then the common person
Really can't.
yeah, who it's really going to affect, they can't either.
Right.
And so that says a lot about that. So some of the things that we did, we brought millennials to the Capitol to help learn the process of how do they talk to their legislators, how do they go about actually watching floor debate, how do they go about going to a committee, what's done in a committee versus what happens on the floor. And I think that all seems very intimidating, but then as soon as you do it, it actually, and it's just a thing that could take 30 minutes of walking around the Capitol and pointing at things and saying, here's how you do this, here's how you do this. As soon as you do that, it becomes very empowering that they have this, and it's not as a big scary monster as they thought. We had this video, which basically really showed that the leadership in the House did not really know what they were talking about. That they were really trying to push something through without a lot of information. And so we took that video and we put it inside of an email. And what we said, one of our values is that all children deserve a quality education. If you believe that is true, please share our video and tell others to watch it. Teams of the Parents Campaign and then Parents for Public Schools, we work together to really strategize the message to our different groups and really activate them when something critical came up. And because of how much participation from active citizens, showed up at the Capitol and reached out to their legislators, the bill got hopefully permanently, but right now we're thinking temporarily, died.
Mr. Speaker, if there's no question, I ask for final passage.
All right. The gentleman moves final passage.
The current formula under MAEP was being utilized, our students will get about $5,200. But this formula is offering up $4,800.
First of all, I'm not sure what MAEP does. I didn't understand it. I've looked at it. The weights in MAEP, not really sure how they were calculated, but again, I have not studied or looked at MAEP, and I do not even want to pretend to even understand it, and I don't believe many people do.
But you don't even know what's in MAEP according to what you're saying?
That is the reason it's better.
Oh, it came out of the committee on yesterday, and now it's being brought before the body on today, and it's how many pages?
340, I'm not sure.
A lot of pages, right?
A lot of pages.
Was there any way for our 3 million residents or 142 school districts to see the 354-page bill before last Thursday?
Not before last Thursday. No.
All right. Are you aware that the information used was not the most recent as the bill requires?
No.
So the numbers that our superintendents across the state have seen may be based on inaccurate information from 15 instead of 16.
Could be not the most accurate data.
Well, this bill doesn't incorporate all the recommendations of Ed Bill, does it?
No.
And which one does it not?
I'm not sure. MAEP?
Yes.
I don't know.
What percentage of the poverty level would factor in?
25%.
Is that different than where we are now?
I don't know.
So we're repealing a bill that you've admitted that you haven't read and don't fully understand. That's the purpose of this.
I have read it. I don't understand it. A lot of it, 350 pages. No, I don't remember what I read.